this is not a commercial for StormForge, but because we're talking about AI and performance tuning, this is an early adopter who has built out a set of, or building out a set of rules that will take the output of performance test results and tune that for you in a way that's much faster than we had to do it in labs. You know, we have to make one change, and we're in the Microsoft lab for like 3 months making one change every day, and you can only run so many tests, and after 3 or 4 months you've tuned this app with what you knew, but now this does it for you automatically. Can you speak to that? Because the goal here is not just to run tests and make your app efficient, it's about lowering the cost. And I should say also, we're not talking about desktop apps and Citrix apps, we're talking about Kubernetes deployed applications. That's their line in the sand. Can you just talk about how that works?
Sure. So I'd actually take it one step further and say it's more than just optimizing or lowering the cost. It's gathering enough data to make an informed decision, right? Depending on whatever question it is that you're trying to answer, right? So as performance engineers, we usually are tasked with making sure that this thing can withstand the load and scale, right? How many times are you running these performance tests and you get to run it more than, say, half a dozen times? Usually it's at the end of the cycle that, okay, that's good enough, let's move on. Who would make a decision based on 6 data points, right? I mean, we were just quizzed over here until we saw Costanza. We all kind of like, I don't know, maybe he'd take it, maybe he wouldn't. And then you got that one data point, you're like, no, there's no way that guy would get that money back, right? So it's about, how do I gather enough data so that I can make an informed decision, right? The challenge is that we saw all those, the kind of cloud native and DevOps and all that stuff, all those technologies add an additional layer of complexity to the stuff that we're charged with analyzing performance testing, performance engineering, right? The one buzzword I didn't see on there was microservices, right? And to me, I cringe and I kind of get excited about that because all they did was take that one problem and multiply it by X number of times, right? So now, so many different variables now that they have to, you got to analyze, right? So who remembers when phone numbers were only 7 digits long, right? Do you know why they're only 7 digits long? That's kind of like the limit at which human brains can kind of remember things reliably, right? If I asked you, sir, you probably knew like 100 different phone numbers back in the day. You could rattle that off quickly, right? As soon as they bumped it to 10 and now we got like 12 different area codes we got to remember, it's in my phone because I can't remember that stuff, right?
I can't remember my own number.
Right. So the point is, with all these new fangled technologies, to gather enough data and then analyze it is difficult because there's so many variables that you have to kind of juggle in your mind, and just conceptually, like cognitively, we can't do that alone. And that's where things like machine learning come into play, because we're great at saying, hey, this is a hot dog, this is not a hot dog, but we can't analyze, you know, the cost versus performance curve of something that's got 100 variables effectively. There's just no way, right? And that's where we have to rely on tools like that.
Thank you so much, appreciate it. Think of a Java application and all the different arguments and options that you would have in a single Java application. Thousands and thousands of notches that you can make, up and down, you know, selections. This can figure out what's the best optimized set of those arguments in a period of hours or a couple of days of automating running tests over and over again with making these changes versus a human having to do that and based upon their best practices of what they've known. It may make suggestions that you've never even heard of before, and all of a sudden, oh, you only need 10% of the memory to get the same performance out of it, so you don't have to use that. And as we know, everything on the cloud is costing us money. Every line of code, every piece of memory. And so that's when we get back to that data. It's part of the math.